Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the End of the Beginning podcast. In this episode, it's now summer in Australia and you can hear the cicadas outside as we discuss the abundance hiding in plain sight, the fastest road back to the heart and the accelerant of conscious relationship. We chat about the power of an intentional pivot, the grind mentality, and enlightening while not discarding the ego. We hope you enjoy what you hear, and if you'd like to submit any questions for upcoming episodes, please contact us at theendofthebeginningpodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks for listening.
People say, okay, I want to shift into a different career, something that's more representative of me, something that's representative of who I am now and who I'm becoming, not who I was and what I was excited about 10 years ago. So what is that? I'm dynamic. We're all fluid. We all give ourselves the right to rebirth, reinvent. So where am I now and where am I heading? And can I have a vocation somehow that reflects that? Do you even need a vocation? Like if you had $1 billion in the bank, what would you do? And the reality is you would do something. What is the best representation of me in the world? I want to do a really good job at whatever I do.
Yeah, of course.
Put my best foot forward, as they say. But then you're in it just going like, it's usually not this is terrible versus there's something amazing. It's like, this is all right, but it's been all right for 10 years. Is there something better than all right? And playing the game where you might give yourself permission to go, I'm actually not here for ordinary, I'm here for extraordinary. I'm here for an extraordinary relationship, an extraordinary creative, artistic, vocational expression in the world. Some people might call it service. Some people might call it simply being themselves. So I was thinking about the pod, and one of those criteria is you may feel some fatigue, you may feel some blood, sweat and tears in moments, but is this a thing you would do for free?
It is a thing you're doing for free, so I think you already know the answer. Do you know what I mean, though?
Of course I do. Yeah, the proof's already there.
Yeah.
So what's the criteria for something you would do for free? Is it generative? Like one of them anyway. Maybe not an absolute rule, but perhaps a guideline. Does it uplift you? Does it give you something? Can you rock up there with half battery and walk out with 3/4 battery in some way?
Yeah.
So many jobs, I think, in the world, like, I better get ready. It's going to be hard. I'm going to walk out more depleted. And there's probably some naturalness to like, okay, now I'm going to go to sleep. Like some bodily neurological depletion is totally fine. But the idea that like, yes, I get to go to work and this will replenish me somehow. I feel like most think that is a ridiculous dream.
Yeah.
Works hard.
Yeah.
Grind. And if you're lucky, you die late and comfortably.
I bet a lot of CEOs would agree with you, though.
Do you think so?
Yeah, man. Like I think a lot of people who are high up in industry, they found their calling and they froth it. I was listening to, is it Jensen Huang, the guy from NVIDIA? The big.
Yeah, I reckon I've seen him front big audiences and stuff online.
And he was just talking about how he works
Taiwanese, maybe?
all the time. Mm-hmm. He doesn't not work because he froths it, you know?
Yeah.
And it may be, you know, I mean, in the interview, I think they were saying, you know, even on holidays, and he's like, I always work. His answer wasn't, yeah, on holidays. His answer was, I'm always working. But I think it can be, you know, it can certainly move into neurological
depletion. Yeah,
like when does it become neuroses and when does it become, you know, like an obsession or a compulsion? But I think there's some people would say, I mean, there is that adage, isn't there, that like if you choose the right career or if you're in the right career, then you never work a day in your life. And there would definitely be people who would agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it, like to take that moment when you're pivoting from one career, from what you started doing or what you ended up doing for most of your life, to actually go, what do I want to do? Not what do I have to do?
Oh, I think it's a magical precipice. I do.
Isn't it?
You have to sit in it and go, if I had carte blanche to do whatever I want, what would it be? What would it look like? Where would I go? Like as if we're all going to be dead soon.
Mm.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I mean, if we really take the ceiling off it, it's one of the fun things to do with anybody. You can get to buy into the game, but we're going to play a game. I was doing this with somebody a few years ago. What's your dream car?
Yeah.
And it invokes, speaking maybe particularly to a man, and it invokes the little boy, like the little Matchbox car enthusiast in us all, sort of thing. What car would you want? And the only rule of the game is you cannot put a ceiling on it. You can't worry about fuel efficiency. You can't worry about capital outlay.
Yeah.
None of it. So that's the only rule. And you can bring the child out.
Yeah.
If anyone willing to play that game.
Yeah.
Because it becomes imaginative but deeply personal. And it becomes like an exercise in artistic unlimitedness or something like that quite quickly.
Do you find
and you might meet somebody who hasn't come out in a long time in something as silly as something into a Matchbox car game?
The desire to, or I guess the rule to not have a ceiling on it, is that born from experience and from your part and doing this before and people kind of restricting and self-limiting themselves and what they think?
Maybe not directly from that game or something, because I think that was spontaneous. They come up with it. It's essentially like a vision board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably where it comes from. And again...
I just find that fascinating, the idea that you have to mention, by the way, the rule is you have unlimited...
Right.
Scope.
You think it should be a given and like obvious?
No, I totally agree with it, and I think it makes perfect sense.
Criteria.
But it's more that thing of isn't that crazy that you're giving them permission to dream as big as they can? I
think it's even the way we relate to dream, the concept of I have a dream, not the Martin Luther King Jr. version, but there's a dream. It usually, just tuning into it now, in our culture, it feels like I have a dream to be a professional athlete. I'm going to outgrind everybody and reach the mountaintop. And that's not what this is. Yeah. This isn't an exercise in competition and grinding. That would be the ceiling coming down again. This is going to be hard. So the game, that's what I want to air quotes, the game of this is can we dance in unlimitedness for just a minute? Can we just allow ourselves? And the second you do, like the tipping point where you actually let go to it, you realize a childlike part comes online. And it's inherently unlimited. And a lot of that, redefining what innocence was in my system. If you had just exited, a merger with source, if you were, like the sort of, I don't know about typical, but a common holding of, there's this place in duality and on the planet, and then there's the other place which is fully merged with source and it's heavenly and all needs are met and there's no such thing as separation. It's union itself. It's love itself. So all your needs are met. Also, there are no threats. How could there be? Everywhere you look, it's you. Everywhere that you is manifest as love and fulfillment and union, there's no threat. There's no gap. There's no not you. Then you step into a place, if you think about little babies and how innocent and dependent they are, well, if you think about where they've come from, and it may be a stretch, like to invite people into that are holding it this way, trying this T-shirt on, and walking around the shop a little bit, if you step around, if you hold it just like that, it's quite obvious that there's a functional and practical gap between somebody who's been on the planet for 50 years and someone who's been on the planet for 50 seconds. That, they're dependent because of their underdeveloped nervous system and body, but also the willingness to step onto the freeway, they're not used to threats. So innocence, as a redefining of innocence, it's godlike. Which, I mean, when we look at babies, we flush with oxytocin and all this stuff, and usually driven to protect or to engage, to support, like all these, they're actually quite fulfilling things mostly, particularly if it's new and someone else's kid. It's like, oh my God, I just want to hold this baby and play with this baby and get it to smile and whatever. I think that there's a divine quality, like a value in the innocence that you can feel it. And it looks, on the surface, it looks like a thing to protect, but underneath it, it's like, no, that's God. Like, the fact that that thing would scarcely try to protect itself. It would just wander out onto the road. Like, there's a divine sparkle in that. And of course, protect it and all the things. But yeah, it's a different way of holding what innocence actually is. And maybe looping that into when we allow ourselves to dream, to create, that innocence is at play there too. It's unlimitedness. Play with this idea of like, you can't be a little bit of infinity. If there's infinity in you, if that divine spark is in you, it's often convenient to go, yeah, but I'm like the child of God, like a fawning little obedient, servitude-orientated. There's a convenience in that because you don't have to step into owning your own creativity, I suppose. Not responsibility, because you're never going to be accountable to the universe. It doesn't work that way. It's also, you're not accountable to your own heart beating either. That's a thing that just happens. We're not trying to spin the planet. We're not trying to, I don't know, have thermal energy explosions on the sun. Like, that's a thing that just happens. And similarly, like, what bit can we actually control? And I don't know, at its very best, it's a magical setup in which all there is to do is decide what it is that you like. I mean, the prescription, I suppose, of the manifestational thing, to the extent that someone might believe that that's real, is that, like, you don't do it. The universe does it. This wealth you want to generate, this relationship you want to create, this exquisite dynamic you want with your children so they can be themselves more and more every day, this beautiful arc of spiritual growth in which the Purnas comes online in vast swathes more and more every week of your life until you die, like all these wonderful things. The universe is like, cool, that's what I'm here for too. I'm going to send you a bunch of circumstances so you can, one, clear some of the misunderstandings and holdings out of your system that aren't the path of least resistance to moving towards where you want to go. But also to give you spectrum, to give you variety so that you can choose. And what's choice? It's preference, sure. Is it inane and random? It may look that way. It's like the difference between a chicken sandwich and a Vegemite sandwich or something. It's like, who cares? Well, it's like, well, unless it's an aspect of your soul bubbling up and going, I'm resonant, like a self-recognition, I'm resonant with this path, with this preference versus this one. And if that's happening 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day, every day of your life, you're granulating and refining who you are through preference and specificity over and over and over. We're never going to be defined by a chicken sandwich, but the little things do matter as well. So in relationship, someone comes to you and they're perceptibly rude in some way, and you're like, I don't like that. I can bend and wiggle and be accommodating and diplomatic, but the truth is, in my heart, I'm like, I don't like being spoken to that way. Is this my stuff? Is this my childhood trauma? It's all got relevance maybe, but in a simple sense, if we're just looking at it as the universe is making an offering to you and you're deciding what you're resonant with and what you're not, you are given the opportunity of self-realization through that. And self-realization is a profound thing, exalted, pedestalized thing from Buddhism, Hinduism, and lots of traditions about what it is to be fully yourself, to fully envelop your true nature, to come online and get out of your own way and have no more points holding you back, and to become God, I guess. And these are like granulations of it all the time. It's beautiful to me to loop back in that language, back into the functionalizing of every day. So how do I enlighten today? Might be a way to look at it. A contemporary definition of enlightenment. How do I move towards it right now? Where am I at? And it's got nothing to do with attaining a goal. It's got nothing to do with, like completing the university degree. Less about the attainment of a PhD and more falling out of alignment, falling back into alignment. And like we said last week in episode 1 of season 2, or invited or offered anyway, the crossing of the threshold back into alignment is actually the sweet spot. That's the spiritual orgasm of life, is to come back into that and go, and the moment it's there's no resentment for all the time you spent misaligned. There's no, oh my God, I blew it. I could have spent 80% of this bandwidth here. No, it doesn't work that way. This is the gift of duality, to draw you out and draw you back in. And yeah, it's better every time because you've collected data while out in the wilderness and you come back, oh, it's even warmer inside now. Yeah, so if our job is to be the specifier of detail, this is an idea I play with, then the universe's job is to be the creator. Like, it does all the work. It beats the heart. It spins the planet in its orbit. It, operates the weather system. We can pick all these things apart and say, yeah, we have influence over our heart, though. You can slow your heart rate right now if you control your breathing a little. Sure, we've got lots of influence. Are we best served having influence? So like the thing would be, is the best thing I can do to generate wealth in my life get out there and work my ass off? Or is there another way? And they're both okay. I guess the invitation is whichever one of those, if you think it will come to you simply because of what vibration of abundance you hold inside your system. Money comes to me because of what I am, not because of what I do. Beautiful people come to me because of what I am, not because of what I do. And when they don't, I'm getting opportunities to refine and clarify my own energy to both appreciate and gravitate more towards me.
Mm.
And the reality is the overwhelming majority of people wouldn't think about that. And if they did, they'd think it was a very strange cop-out on working hard in life, and that's okay. But what it seems to me is that whichever one of those, let's say there's two, whichever one of those paths you believe is true is how it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, there you are. Isn't that the...
It's nice.
My, can I push back on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got some time left.
Just for fun. The cynic in me says, well, that's convenient for you though, that if I'm not manifesting money, then it's something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. It hurts, doesn't it?
Well, no, it's more that thing of like, that's convenient, isn't it? Like that's that feels like a cop out to me.
Which bit? The
bit that like this is the way manifestation works, right? What you have to do is understand that you are in your own way, and when you get out of your own way, everything will come to you that you ever desired. And you're like, yeah, but I've been trying to do that. And it's like, we don't try to do that, just be it. And you're like, okay, I am being it, but it's still not working. It's like, yeah, but you're the problem. There's this kind of like this edge there that's kind of, it feels like it could get really, really close to snake oil salesman. Do you know what I mean? Because it's got an edge of like, but it's because you don't understand yet, or it's because you can't yet, or it's because of you. Like there's this, and I understand where you're coming from because it's trying to communicate a deep idea about existence, a deep idea about your connection to source and the maker, and that you are actually that. But there's this also, in me, there's this kind of logical / cynic that's also like, wow, how bloody convenient, it's still my fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at that when if I've watched courses or if I've looked at something like, there was a Joe Dispenza thing and I was really getting into it. And then that kind of idea came up and it felt so non-resonant in me, to be 100% honest. It felt like I'm waiting for you to go, this is because you don't know how to do this, but in this course here, I'll teach you how. It felt like that was coming, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that does exist in the world. You know, like it's like the problem you have with manifesting, I can help you with for $99.95 a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. I think it's...
I don't know if that's
great.
unhealthy cynicism or whether it's healthy.
I think it's that's the edge. It's beautiful language, right? So maybe some clarifiers. I've not solved this, so I exist in this tension all the time. Working through this stuff. And there are moments where, we get to define, the first thing is it's never done. So there isn't those that have worked it out and are just floating around in infinite wealth all the time and it's done.
Really?
And there's those that aren't, right? So it sounds like that. This is coming back to what we were saying the other, and I might have just sounded like that too, where it's like, here's a method, I've worked it out. come do it, and you can work it out too. So it sounds like there's the threshold of there's someone who's enlightened on this front and someone who isn't. But that's not my experience of any of these things at all. It's perpetual. And so it's like if you had $1 million and you were debt free and you owned all your assets or something, which is pretty affluent state to be anywhere in the world. If that were there, then it doesn't. What happens next is it inspires a whole further unfolded level of creativity in your life, and then you use that as a muse to move you further out and further out and further out. So perhaps some of the tension is around the idea that there's the haves and the have-nots, even vibrationally, those that understand this and those and have it working for them, and those that don't. And that's not completely untrue, but the healthiest comp is me and me 5 years ago, not me and anybody else. It gets really messy, those lateral comparisons with others.
It brings like The Secret is coming up to me.
Yeah.
You know, like that. Remember that thing?
Of course.
It's just like, this is the reason that you just haven't understood this secret.
Yeah.
This book.
It's one threshold
this
to
movie,
cross. Here it is. I've got it. Yeah. Nothing works like that.
Yeah.
Nothing works like that.
That makes way more sense.
Intermittently, a thing can be the inspired thing that you move towards. This comes back to take one thorn and remove it. Like, the idea of just using method that is inspired, and the moment it's uninspired, discarding method and moving to a different plateau. So it is true that some of these things can be amazing. I'm not a huge dispenser guy, but I've sat in some of them going, oh, this is beautiful. This is a missing piece for me. And then the next week, not there, Yeah. So I think it's great to call these out and 1,000 times more potent if we're willing to sit in what comes next. So if we never get it done, then there aren't those who've worked this out and there aren't those who haven't. Also, and I think most importantly, it can't be your fault. The nuance between it's your opportunity and there is accountability in it, but not fault. The universe doesn't fuck around. Where we are is where we are. Does that mean I'm implying some sense of destiny? It has to be. Does that mean diminishing free will? Well, we just talked a lot about specificity and creativity, so that's there too. This is one of those core dichotomies of being alive, is that you're exactly where you are for reasons you didn't ask for and control in your humanity. As far as your human personality, you just find yourself in the mess of life over and over and over. But it's also true that you've got free will there. So the dichotomy is there's no free will and that there is free will. And they exist. If every decision, even if you thought, well, I'm going to choose to go left at this intersection, but everything that came before you, like a tidal wave of momentum behind you, has led you to be the kind of being that would choose left over right in this exact. So did you make a choice or didn't you? It's one of those philosophical cliff edges kind of thing. Similarly, there's opportunity to refine and create as fast or slow as you might like with this process, or not at all, without the blame. And that invites us perhaps into the middle of this space. Like I'm gonna sit with this stuff rather than it's safe enough to chip away at the work of this rather than I should have been further ahead. It's my fault. I'm not getting anywhere with this. And I sit there all the time in those places or with regularity. What I've found though is there's enough momentum online these days where it's like, I feel really shit right now. I've got really negative thoughts. I feel a lot of fear about running out of whatever money, time, good people in my life, like whatever it is, some wolf at the door kind of thing. What's happening? How did I get here? I have a background faith that things tend to work out, but that doesn't feel true right now. It feels like an idea bobbing around in the background. It doesn't feel contactable. So what do I do with this? Now there's when things get that intense, it might be time there's sort of two options I think we've talked about before, are to extrapolate the thought out of it and sit with the feeling alone. And if you meet a feeling, it's like, okay, well, it no longer becomes about the narrative so much. The narrative is what drives access to the feeling. It's like, I feel really afraid because of these theories and this reason. You go, oh God, every time I mention something, it amplifies the feeling until there's nothing but the feeling left. You were mentioning before somebody you were holding space for. and the level of panic that they are in. Really, rationale's not going to help. A mind access is not going to help that person, but being with them when they're in true panic and creating a container for that wildness, for that feeling, is going to be the accelerated path out, ironically, by not needing it to go away, to be with it, not needing to squash it, settle it, replace it, tweak it, whatever. Yeah. Feels like the language feels clunky this morning, but the question I think is really important.
I mean,
you brought
it's
up.
juicy. Like for me, it's a really juicy one because it's, I think a lot of people are experiencing it, not necessarily right now, but perhaps right now and previously, and will experience it in the future. Like it's a big, it's a big thing. We have lots of, we have quite a few big tech billionaires who have sucked up a lot of cash. And so capitalism is working a different way right now, in our society than compared to, like, if you look at the kind of naturally distributed wealth of the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the 80s to a certain degree. The last sort of 30 years have been very different.
So the core principle is that the thing you want is inside of you. And we say, so go get it, you dickhead. Like, what are you doing distracting yourself with other ideas? Go get it. And it's never that. Like, I mean, on a more intuitive level, it's like, can we be with that discomfort? That, like, fuck you, I feel blamed by this. I feel disempowered. What is it? I feel disempowered in the middle of this. My feeling is that you could say is that's the very stuff that's in the way of it coming in. But more than that, it's like there's a soul, I believe anyway, there's a soul intentionality about this stuff that I'm going to work with certain chunks of scarcity stuff, baggage, whatever, in this life story. It comes from dad, it comes from whatever. And I'm going to work through this, and it will provide a sense of clarity about what real abundance is to this individual being, this soul, this human. Because abundance means different things to different people. For me, one of the definitions that emerges, I think, naturally is to be at like an ascetic level of abundance where you could just walk the planet and do what feels inspired and wealth will find you. And that you could do that and be a dad and a house owner as well, homeowner as well. And it's like, well, yeah, it'd be great to have $1 billion in the bank and just be safe all the time or something, but you're not. As soon as you were there, you'd have a revelry period, a honeymoon period, a holiday sort of thing, and buy whatever you wanted. And it's, if the structures of competition and fear and the tech billionaires are still coming to get us, like that'd still be prevalent. There's no big enough value to remove emotion from the equation.
Yeah, you swap one set of fears for another, I think, as well. The only momentum I truly feel that I've had in this space is actually the removal of need. That's the only way that I've had any forward momentum in it, I think. I honestly think is just like to find the beauty in the simple things, whether it's like planting veggies, like from little seedlings and looking after them, or going for a walk on the beach, or, beautiful sunset or whatever it is. That has really been the only way that I've gone, I have everything that I need. That's the only time I felt like I've been able to be in that space where I don't actually need all this other shit. But this stuff that I want, like that's the other flip side of it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And coming right back, that feels like the kid, the Matchbox car enthusiast inside of you that we can't afford to get rid of, because that's that innocence that has woven its way through this topic here, talking about it. That's the innocence that is creativity itself. That's the divine spark in all of this, that there's a part that doesn't see the limitation and sees only the excitement and the thrill. And part of those things that you want are natural consequences of what you've lived as well. So that's the dance with duality too. It's flashed a spectrum of different experiences in your direction, and you've gone, some of this I hate, some of this I love. Everything you hate, I'm deliberately using that pointy word. Everything you hate has an opposite, and you love it, whatever it is. And some of it's quite granular, like it's quite specific in its edging. So like when somebody speaks to me and they say these words with this level of depth and authenticity versus when they say it in a flippant way, the authenticity lights me up. in that space, in that way between those people. There's nothing else that feels quite like that. How wonderful. But I don't work that out if I don't really hate the inauthentic, like trashy, diluted version at the other end of the spectrum. So at our very best, I think that's the opportunity, is to go, I hate feeling like I don't have enough. I hate it. That means the opposite experience is when I can spend what I need to, or what I would, or what I can, and I still have more. That's a beautiful feeling. And yep, that immediately the stuff will come up that goes, but it's not like that. We're not that safe. And so gently, lovingly, never with blame, because it's inefficient. It's wasted energy. It slows the whole thing down. Because now you're saying, if you're a really creative creature, if we really are that essence, that's that creative spark of the divine, and we're saying I'm a dickhead or I've fucked this up, then that is the experience we're creating for ourselves. But it comes from an emotional charge, not from nowhere. So just being with it. So when you said before, like, which was fiercely honest about the veggies, and it does, it's like, well, we could plant something in the ground and the ground would magically fruit. Like, we'd be provisioned like magic. We did a little bit of stuff, but Mother Earth did the rest. And how magical. To me, you're in training and experience of self. So all of this is, we're all God, whether we like it or not. All of us are, nobody higher, nobody lower, all God. And we're here to play out these different personality traits of God, to experience it and map it a little deeper than it's ever been done before. And we do that for joy. So in that moment, via the experience of Mother Earth and the soil and how generative it is, there's a being having an experience of the abundance of God through the soil. It's a metaphor for who you really are.
Yeah, for me, it was more that thing of, and again, I'm happy to acknowledge this as a potential limiting factor, but it's me understanding that the only true power I contain here is my perspective, and that I can find wonder and gratitude and beauty in anything, and that's more that. Do you know what I mean? It's more that angle, I guess, that I was going with it. Like, gratitude has been the thing that it's taken a long time for me to realize is actually a superpower when if you can access it when you desire. Like, everything turns into magic if you can access the gratitude part of it. That's my honest answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just the nuance of finding authentic gratitude too, because that's whatever, there's an emotional or energetic truth under whatever we're saying or whatever we're thinking. And if we're saying, I'm so grateful for this beautiful space I get to walk in, but you're really angry, then the language looks right, but you're emanating a signal to the universe of discomfort and anger, and you'll bring that back. But
in that moment, though, it's not inauthentic.
No.
In that moment,
we're just saying there's a spectrum.
Yeah,
there's pseudo gratitude for sure, and you can feel it when someone talks about how great things are and they're grinding their teeth and they look like they haven't slept in 3 days.
I love grinding my teeth.
Who doesn't? That's horrible.
The grind.
Interesting start.
Yeah.
I really want to flesh out this topic more and kind of nail it, but it's sort of happening the way that it's happening. I do think that discomfort is a really important part to explore. And I suppose my general response is that it's important, actually. That response is important. Whether we think it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do is irrelevant. But to notice that level of tension or even resentment about it comes up is so juicy in and of itself. That's the stuff to be met. Now, I said before, like, we can either, I tend to encourage meeting the feeling to the extent that we can. So we know exactly where we are in the Abraham Hicks world, which is this is their wheelhouse kind of thing. It would be too charged. Leave it. Go think about puppies, which may be some of that in the garden, gratitude. But really, it's like making it simpler. That is you're operating in a problematic vibration right now, like the Einsteinism. We won't find a solution from here. Let's go elsewhere, see what we can do to lighten ourselves, uplift our vibration, and when we feel more steady, we'll come back to it. So you could put it a little differently. That innocent, beautiful, childlike, divine spark creativity can't operate from that level of energetic contraction, can't operate from when your vibration's low. So let's detour, let's go elsewhere. And we're doing it consciously. So it's not repression. We're going to go move elsewhere. So you may avail yourself of a walk on the beach. You may go play with the dog, like light, see what happens. And the reality is it looks like you're doing a thing differently, and there's truth in that. But we're moving away from a thing we can't help ourselves, but move down into and denser and more contracted, because there's a lot of narrative and history, and what the Abraham Hicks thing would suggest is momentum. There's a lot of momentum on, let's say, the abundance frontier of our life, that this is hard because I've experienced a lot of that, and I was raised with a lot of that, or whatever it is. Not wrong. Remember, this is like a soul's journey to dance with all these energies, to help polarize a much deeper experience of abundance as it comes online more and more. So there's too much ick and muck here. So we're going to move over to another frontier of life, and then naturally we just pop on up like a cork rising naturally in the water. It wants to float once we can get out of the way. But again, because it's an important wrinkle, we're not blaming ourselves for getting in the way either. This is the work. This is what we've set ourselves up for.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't characterize. I can only go from my own personal experience, and I wouldn't characterize my life as not having abundance. Like, I've always had plenty of money, and still do to a certain extent. I just think, yeah, maybe we all need to experience all of the different parts of life, and sometimes that includes lack.
If we swap topics for a sec, like if it was about relationship and you're a single person and like, I'm doing all this work on myself and I keep attracting things that fall over, or I'm not attracting something at all. And so from that kind of like hard and fast thinking, it's like, well, you're attracting exactly where you are. So vibrationally, the universe is mirroring you back. So it's your fault, your responsibility, your accountability, your opportunity. Like, you get to choose which one of those words fits, in the moment, and depending on how you feel about life, I suppose. So what's the choice? I think in 10 years, we all look back and go, it was true. It was true that I was bringing in where I was at and I couldn't see my blind spots. But that's always the case. It can be a bit brutal.
Can't you not? Like, can't you? Like, you can't not be in that space, right?
That's right.
You're always limited by the
Yeah, I think this is the definition of being, being in duality, and this is our stuff, and we take it with us. But also, if you up level that 100x, you'll be in the middle of a whole different array of work. And that continues for a long time. I was chatting with a parent this week, and it's like, even if you gave the singularly best, somehow measurable parenting experience to these children, they would just find themselves in a new middle. They would be pushing a new ceiling. Oh, can I feel safe here? And the children would still challenge you.
Yeah.
The children, in a way, in that sense, it doesn't matter whether it's horrific parenting or amazing parenting. They'll be in the middle of that. Yeah. And they'll look to push the boundaries and find new safety and explore and all that, because it's what it is to be human. Mm. So if we swapped out the money thing for the relationship thing, and where what is there to do? I'm not attracting the person of my dreams right this second. So what is there to do? Forming a more and more comfortable relationship with now. The barrier is usually the feeling stuff that's in the way. Like, I'm poor as shit, or I'm lonely as shit. And it's like, it's true. I do. I feel really lonely. I feel like I'm meant to share my life with somebody, and they're not here. And it's a shit feeling. I'm just sitting with that. Just being with the feeling of that, not sugarcoating over it, just being with it to the extent that we can. And things when feelings are felt, when we look right into that without blinking, and it's fierce, it's also really natural. And yeah, we've been taught not to, and taught to distract ourselves with mind shit and tech and objectivity and all this stuff, but just being with it takes the charge right off it. It's easier in some areas of life than others, but the second it could stay forever, it tends to disappear. So the this
You're
circle.
talking about acceptance?
Yeah, I am. But on any frontier. So the second, like, grief could stay for forever, it changes. And so that means if it's still there, then it's not been fully met. And that's fine. The universe is in no rush. There's no, what is it, St. Peter tapping his watch at the gates? Like, that's probably death, isn't it? Like, there's no, it's not happening. There's no urgency. Why would infinity be urgent about anything? It's like, God needing the validation of devotees. It doesn't, religious followers, it doesn't work. That wouldn't be God then. That'd be some needy
something else.
dude. Yeah, or whatever.
Dude.
So there is something essential at play in all this, I think, and that is when you don't need it to manifest materially, you've communicated to the universe that you've already got it. We're not saying don't have exotic financial desires. We're saying you're meant to have them. The universe is, with the universe being the other half of you, is devising, concocting a circumstance so that you do desire stuff because it's generative, it's new, it's drawing out that little boy who's like excited about possibility. That's, if you were infinity, wouldn't you want to like create new exciting shit? Like, this is the point. An individuation of being a little guy, girl, whatever, who's capable of dreaming up new ideas, and desire is the muse. Like, excitement and thrill is the muse in that instance. So we're not extinguishing desire, but, horse before the cart kind of thing, that if you have this passionate, fervent desire to create this thing in your life, it's so passionate that you may not allow yourself to be happy until it's here. You're present to your excitement and the absence of it. But we're not just meat sacks. There's more, vastly more. And the other thing that we are is source. It happens to be infinity. So it goes forever in all directions. And it also has the capacity, or rather it innately encompasses all the things. So when we get to a point where I don't need this anymore, we're actually communicating to the universe that I don't need it because I am it. It's in me as me. So the invitation then becomes like anything I desire, I recognize exists in me as a vibrational phenomenon first. And I can go find it. And I go find it and I feel fucking amazing. So when you think about like the bulletproof, unshakable, enlightened cat of 3,000 years ago, that kind of archetype, the idea is they need for nothing because they've worked out their true nature. They've worked out that they are everything. And so we can make enlightenment not a life's journey, but a day's journey. How do I move towards more alignment? It's like understanding that the abundance you seek is something that you are. And when you go, oh, that's not satisfying enough, it means, yeah, you're right. It's so reasonable to feel that way. Like, I want more fulfillment. I want it to be real. So of course you do. Of course you do. How do we get our vibration to a more expanded point so that feels natural and easy? So I think those beautiful moments on the beach, those beautiful moments in the garden or with your daughter or whatever, you're expanded. And when you're expanded, abundance is given. You feel fulfilled. So those are really rich moments, but not in the mind. They're like, oh, they're rich because I've got everything that I need and I shouldn't ask for more. It's like, no, more than that and more. You're connected to your true nature, which is fulfillment in all the senses. It's not modesty. That's the nuance, right? Like, that's what the mind does. So no, it's not that I have modest goals and they're easily fulfillable and now I feel like I can access that peace. It's like, no, the desires are there for a reason. How exquisite. And you can have all of it. But you have all of it by realizing that you're already it. It's inside you as you.
The idea of when you realize that you are it. To me, the idea is when you realize that you are it,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can have everything that you want. You don't need it because you realize that you are it. And you can have everything that you want. And that is
Right. That is the premise, yeah.
Yeah, that is literally a conundrum. Because you why can't you just go straight to the I don't need it?
Yeah. You're creating the... And that's the end of the story, you mean? It never needs manifest and...
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it depends what you think we're here to do. Whether you believe that part of the magic of this is to be alive and to shape outcome. But you can shape it maybe with, tools in your hand and the grind, blood, sweat and tears, or maybe you can shape it more energetically. And so the question isn't like what's feasible, what's scientifically provable.
I think what you just said actually bears out more for me. Like, you can either shape it physically or you can shape it energetically. Like, that for me is that's got a heavy, strong signature to it.
Yeah. Do you mean that captures the conundrum, or do you mean
Yeah, I mean, it's I
that
guess
lightens it for you?
it presents the idea in a new way of like, are you here purely as a physical manifestation? Most people would say no, because I believe because they're having a conscious experience as well. So they're not just completely in their physicality. They have mind and thoughts and desires and all sorts of things. So, and they might not believe in religion, but I think a lot of people are spiritual in some way. Even if you're atheist, you still believe in nothing.
Yeah.
So you still believe in something. I don't know. It kind of triggered something in me, like that's the other half of the puzzle, is the energetic work, is the resonance that you're bringing here, or that you're being here, not bringing.
How do I connect with this thing that I am underneath? So in a basic sense, it's like, if I can connect with that, I don't need you to behave in any particular way. I don't need this to go well. I don't need to have a good financial week. I don't need to have a good parenting week. All those things are really challenging and alive and capable of creating new inspiration. No shit, we're not running from that.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. This is hopefully the thing that grounds it from evangelism and snake oil, is that it's very alive. It's happening, we're in the middle of our stuff all the time. And
what you said, because I will forget it, what you said about a minute ago is the most profound thing of which was basically like
the working versus the energy bit.
No. The bit you said after that, where you were saying, if I'm connected to myself and I'm being myself and I'm in my flow, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Or overphrasing what you said. You were more concise. It doesn't really matter how I'm parenting and how I'm blah, 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 blah. It's just I'm actually being myself.
Right.
And it's like, that's a really nice invitation, isn't it, to everybody, to actually just be okay with how things are, as long as it's a true representation of who you are. You can be shitty that things are not going a certain way if you're not connected to yourself, if you're not being yourself, if you're not being, here's this word again, authentic. Of course that's going to be painful because you're, and this might be a bit mindy, but you're swapping out your intuition and your authenticity and truth of who you are for an idea of who you think you should be being, and that's failing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
In my life, things can go really shit and get dark, and I try to meet them in a yogic sense, which to me means like a willing participant in the energetic and emotional process of all this stuff, like a meeting the growth, trusting that the universe is serving something to you that will help you. And that can be way too austere and hyper disciplined and exhaustative, definitely. As it's evolved over time, it's become things go shit when I forget to connect with myself. Whatever that, I worry that maybe that just sounds like waffle and connecting with self.
I think it's like it's that's your truth, and that should be enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other
what you're saying.
but the other side of that is, I think it's really powerful advice. And I know you're not offering it as a prescription or as advice, but I think that by just telling your honesty and kind of being in that space, it hopefully encourages other people to go. Because I know in my life, I've had many, many discussions with friends, like deep discussions with friends where, you see my Kiwi accent just pop out there, friends, just for a second, where just saying to them, like, I think you're awesome just how you are, is a mind-blowing concept, because no one's given that to them before.
Yeah.
No one that they deeply love or care about has gone, you're awesome just how you are, man. Like, and I've said it to a few people where I think that you just hear, sometimes if it's a phone call or there's just silence for a bit, and you can feel them processing this is a new sensation, or I haven't felt this for a while, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're doing there. You're inviting everybody to just go, as long as you're connected to yourself, as long as you are being your true self, you're good. And I think that's incredibly powerful, because were we talking about it last week? Was it like the idea that we're all struggling to be ourselves?
Yeah.
How ridiculous
the only thing you can't not
the
be.
idea.
It is. It's a giggle though, because it's inevitable. It's interchangeable with.
Sorry.
Did I say it?
No. I'm just referring back to South Park.
It's interchangeable with alignment and misalignment. Yeah, this kind of self-orientation. So really, for me, it's taken and continues to take, but years and years and years, decades even of meditation and sitting with this stuff to get comfortable with, like, there's this thing underneath the mind noise and the feeling and the phenomena of life that is this emptiness that is somehow full, and closing the gap between that thing's actually Luke. There's this impossible, another dichotomy, I suppose. Some traditions would say, no, there's no Luke there. That's the absence of Luke. That's your true nature. That's this divine quality. In some traditions, it's called self. In Buddhism, it's called the absence of self. Or sometimes, you get a capitalized S on self. And these nuances that we're working around, this dichotomy.
Is that self as personality, though, rather than
the
self
little
as
S? The little S is the personality one, the ego trip one kind of thing. And the bigger one is the true nature underneath it, which needs nothing from anybody. What I've found that works really well for me is to understand that that's actually Luke. Luke as I experience him, like as in the guy I know. And so this lends itself to me, slightly more modern, although there's evidence of them the whole way through, where we're enlightening the ego structure rather than discarding the ego structure. So this connection to Luke that I'm talking about is possible for anyone and everyone. And in this way, there is no hierarchy at all, because everybody's got access to it. One of the insights at some point was, rather than discarding the ego, we're going to enlighten the ego, or divinate the ego.
I mean,
to integrate divine into it,
to play devil's advocate,
expands.
Isn't that another way of dissolving the ego?
Right. Yeah, well, diluting it maybe with the divine. So there's that edge, right? This is that dichotomy where it's all just bleeding into each other. And so the question becomes, like, not is this valid, but whether this is filled with love or not. You go, well, yeah, you just said I love this.
It literally is the thing.
Yeah, that's what's diluting it too.
Yes.
There you go. So this is the place that abundance comes from. Fuck, was it taking us 3 hours to get here? We're just going to clear the pipes out
not real.
to get there. Yeah, the convenient cop out. So this is where it comes from. So this is what it is to have the horse before the cart, to connect with yourself first. Yeah. Very hard to have problems in those moments. They don't last for long, just like you talk about. Like, I don't need to be expanded all the time. I get to come back in, and how wonderful. But in terms of manifestation, abundance, feeling safe in that, feeling able to shrug off the judgments and the horror that can arise in that level of creativity and accountability, being in the very middle of our process, knowing everything will change and we'll still be in the very middle of our process, and giving ourselves permission to love ourselves while we're working through things. Because what if it's not our shit? It can be helpful to hold it as that sometimes, but what if it's not our shit and it is just this endless barrage, might be too strong, but this endless conveyor belt of opportunities to work out who we are more and more and more and more. And who's that who that we're talking about? This is that self. It's all divine. It's all unlimited God beyond form, and yet somehow it's got this deeply interwoven, individuated energy of Paul in there as well. I've talked about before, like, there's this earthly life force form world that we live in, that to me, let's say manifest as Gaia, like all the life force and form that we live amongst. And then there's all the infinity and consciousness of God, and the place that they're like surging towards each other, and the place that they coexist. I'm putting my hands nice and close together with my fingertips barely separated, creating the image of an interface. The place that they actually interface, but unionize and then separate, and unionize and then separate. That midpoint is Paul. Think about all the form, the most emphatic expression of form is the individual human being, let's say, and then the most emphatic expression of consciousness is the individual soul. And so there they are, right there in that midpoint, infinity colliding with form, where you've got the individuation of God. So there's no individuation in the one, because it's the one. Yeah. And there's no infinity in Gaia.
And the finite.
Because it by definition, it's like that's a tree and that's an animal. And yes, there's a soul energy underneath, but now we're bleeding back into God, So the way that they meet is you've got this unlimited divine being manifest as an individual. That's the midpoint. Of course that God wants to create things. Of course he's aware of when he can't create things. He's God. Like, of course he's aware of the absence of the stuff he wants to create. And so the answer to getting all the things you want is discovering and rediscovering your nature, that you are everything that you want. Yeah. It's behind you, it's at your back, this infinity. Where this can really hit its stride is where there's a strong feeling that the less you do, the more comes your way. And if we sell it to the wrong person in the wrong moment, the wrong version of ourselves, it's torture for both parties. But when it's not, when it's expanded and it's the ripe moment, the universe does all the creating and we simply do the specification and the choosing. That feels romantic and like ordered in a beautiful way. This is the horse before the cart. This is getting it the right way around. Daring to step into that. The less that I do, the more that comes to me, because I'm communicating to the universe that I've already got it. And the guys and girls who can, like really in their dharma, or they really have a beautiful relationship to wealth and vocation and materialism or whatever, tend to get this. They're just busy being themselves and everything else is provisioned. Everything else works itself out. And it's okay that we don't just jump to that immediately. Just chipping away. And the fuel along the road, the food as we walk the path, is that the only way that it works is through connection with ourselves. Everything that goes wrong in my life, in inverted commas wrong, because it always works out epic, everything's working out for me. And sometimes it's been truly fucked. And then eventually I'm like, I couldn't be here without that. It just revealed so much to me about myself. It needed to be really messy, incredibly humbling. The only time things go wrong is through disconnection with self. It's like, all right, no, I need to get this money shit right. It's like, well, actually, you'll find the money shit feels so much better when you feel really connected to yourself. When you're like, I just fucking love being Paul. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't need to feel special. God knows I don't, because I feel innately fulfilled and provisioned with all this good, this well-being, this state of well-being buried deep within me. I feel really in touch with. And then you're like, what was the problem again? I can't, did I tell you so you can parrot it back to me? Actually, don't worry about it. I'm good. And from that state, it's so easy. You become full and the universe throws full shit at you. Shit that is full. So you entrain abundance by being yourself. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there was a short way to get to all of this. I don't know, but it's still worth getting to. And I think it is the panacea to that question. Yeah. Don't you know who you are? And it's not more responsibility. It's the opposite, actually. It's not more load and pressure. It looks like it, and that's okay to see it that way. But like you talk about in coaching work, like, don't you know who you are? Can't you see how fucking wonderful you are? And it's that feeling state that heals all wounds. the old adage of the one you've been looking for your whole life is you plays out indefinitely.
Yeah.
And you forget it's you, and you remember it's you, and you forget it's you, and you almost become a willing amnesia patient all over and over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is, right? The distance to travel between, I've worked through some shit. I'm starting to feel good about who I am. Don't you know who you are? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot for a second.
Yeah.
Is far shorter than I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm
Look at this mess I've created.
empty. Yeah, I'm disconnected. I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like all gamuts of the spectrum, depending on how far down that rabbit hole, the soul has gone.
Yeah.
Like to traverse that space is enormous.
Yeah. Yeah. So baby steps are okay.
But can be traversed in a single step if you just drop all of that shit and drop all of but sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. Sometimes as simple as this going, these are not my handbags. Drop, walk away.
Sometimes they're not your handbags. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be talking about something more esoteric there, which is where you've picked up an impression, where you've picked up somebody else's shit,
I think
where you've taken responsibility for someone's feeling.
I think everybody, like, I guess I can't say that. I can only say my observation and my experience of schooling, childhood with pretty awesome parents who were, hands off and, et cetera, et cetera. No one gets through it unscathed.
I remember the prospect being raised by somebody I was close with that I want to raise children that are untraumatized. And to me, it felt like, of course.
Yeah.
But
best efforts.
Also, of course not. This won't be achievable. My work's never going to stop on myself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that very idea is what keeps enlightenment away from me or some shit, and I'll work out and I'll laugh at myself for a couple 100 years or something. But it feels the best I've got, the most beautiful holding of it that I have is that this is reality. It doesn't stop. There's always an opportunity for this incredible growth. And that infers there'll always be something to be revealed, which infers there'll always be a blind spot. It'll be different, but it'll always be there, and I cannot protect my children from my blind spots. I can by expanding the internal visibility of my blind spots, so we're doing the work, but it'll never be done. So all I'm doing is lifting the ceiling, lifting the floor so that they can reach a higher ceiling. But there'll always be blind spots, and for them too, with their children. And
I think also you can't control how someone will interpret things. That's the end of it. I can't control. I can make my best efforts right now to speak with an open heart and to try and be brave and talk about vulnerable things or things that make me squirm a bit because I feel like who am I to say these things or whatever. I can do all of that stuff and put my best foot forward, but I can't control how anyone listening, for example, even to this podcast, is going to interpret what I'm saying. And least of all our kids. Like, I feel like that sparked off something that a lot of people... Yes, Anthony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, Nisargadatta, is that his name? Maharaj?
I mean, when you said this last week, Nisargadatta,
they're all saying
there's 1,000 of them.
Yeah. But I don't know them. Yeah. I only know the ones I know. But like they're all saying the same thing. But the at least in the West, they're also selling something.
Yeah.
They're all selling like it's $7,000 to come to my talk. I'm on tour. Come and see me. Here's my book. There's an entire infrastructure up around that spiritual kind of upliftment.
Oh, for sure. Spiritual business.
And people are interested in expanding themselves, and they are interested in, bettering themselves. And so some people do spend $7,000 to go see them. And it's like, how do you what's the word I'm looking for? How do you reconcile? Yeah, spending that amount of money with and not getting sold at.
Yeah. I mean,
I
can
experience-
you charge too little for a thing like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you allowed to charge for it? Because for most of human...
It just becomes exclusional and it becomes hierarchical.
It can do, but you can exclude... You can become so inclusive that you dilute the product. But I think about it in the one-on-one coaching sense. If people don't... They don't. And we're not saying that money makes something serious. We're saying, no, we live in form.
Yeah.
And in order to make something significant, I have to step towards it with significance, meaning I have to offer up a significant openness inside of me. And sometimes, or maybe often, that takes giving something of value in their world. Like time is important, but it's also nothing without authenticity.
I think we don't realise how important time is. That's, so I hear you.
Well, yeah, it's like... like something like this, for example, sitting down talking, this reminds me of sacred practice. And we can hold that lightly and we can have a giggle and all of that's there. But something about the routine of like, we're going to crack right open. Yeah. And so we have to show up and really show up. And beautifully, that's allowed to include humor and personality and all this stuff. It's not the death of those things. It's actually the amplification of those things. All parts are welcome and yet we're here. So there's nothing serious happening in spirituality, and yet authenticity is the mandate. So how do we balance those two things? And so it's like, I'm really going to be myself when I'm here, and nothing could be more joyous and childlike than that. And yet there's all sorts of impressions and wobbles and distractions, and I am kind of, I don't know, steady with those things, firm. Yeah, so the money ones really, they used to fry the shit out of me. When I first went to a Tolly show and it cost $200 or $300 or something in the must be in 2008, something like that. Yeah. I went with some members of my family, and it was amazing. And but I remember feeling uncomfortable that people were excluded. In truth, it felt like mind ideas that melted away over time. Do I have a problem that Tolly's had financial success, or that a lot of my heroes have? Not really. No, there are a lot of ideas about stuff. So hold on, if we pay too little, people won't engage with it and they'll miss it. It'll be in its way exclusive. If we charge too much, it'll be exclusive. Where's the line? Where is it? Like if you get lost in the mind idea of morality and righteousness there, you can derail yourself pretty fast. So for me, it's really nuanced, complex, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do what feels right, what feels inspired.
I guess the flip side too is those people are playing inside capitalism. So it's just what the market will sustain. Like if you're not a big enough cat and you don't have a big enough reach, and like so if I went and said I'm going to hire out Brisbane Entertainment Centre and charge $7,000 a ticket, no one's turning up. So capitalism,
not with that attitude.
So capitalism kind of like sorts that out,
Free market, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really have these judgments. Like Robbins was charging $10,000 or something, wasn't he? Like something we would consider quite exorbitant. But it's also, how much do you value what you do? Like if I'm stepping into a coaching program with somebody, whether I'm receiving something like that this afternoon, it will be invaluable to me.
Yeah.
There is no figure.
Today's the day Australia's
16 and over.
Yeah. Social media ban comes into place.
Yeah. Yeah, on a personal note, I was struck by the boldness of that, kind of proud of it.
My conspiratorial nature, like I have what would I say? I was going to say a rejection of authority, but that's not right. A skepticism of authority maybe, or like a wariness of authority. I'm like, what's this really about? What's the actual, do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Whether it's a digital ID or whatever, but that all remains to be seen.
Yeah, you could feel that way reasonably about anything always. Concealed agenda. I mean, it's true too, right? Like, I'm doing this for the most transparent reasons.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know what I don't know about myself.
Yeah.
And yet there is such a thing as virtue and integrity. It's like they're genuinely blind spots though, everyone. Like, if I hurt you, it won't be on purpose.
Yeah.
But it still happens. And so what's the difference between something Machiavellian and something colossally accidental? One's naughtier, but the outcome's the outcome.
Only if it keeps going and going and going, and you realise it's not actually accidentally.
Accidents can reserve the right to be repeated too. I think this is one of the things a therapist said to me once, like, if you're in an abusive dynamic, whether someone's doing something if someone's doing something to you on purpose, you'll be stuck in anger. If someone's doing something to you accidentally because of their own hurt, you'll be stuck in compassion. When it doesn't matter why they're doing it, but they are doing it and they're taking flesh off your bone, you'll be free. Because their motivations and their narrative is no longer primary. It's your relationship to self. Yeah. And it's like, I've got nothing to offer anybody if I can't have safety. It's going to say survival, but if I can't have a neurological, emotional, physical safety, it's such a strange thing. It just, like we were animals that had to be dragged out of the jungle and shaved down and stuck in suits and taught to be polite. And maybe we got so busy being polite that we forgot to take care of ourselves as well. So externally considerate. Is that they okay? Are they okay? Am I upsetting them? That's just the lens I think I've seen things through. But yeah, they talk about a healthy level of personal narcissism as well.
Well, the people-pleasing thing's definitely a contagion or like ripe throughout society for sure.
Once you see enough of it, it becomes repellent. Where you're like, I think this is why really sweet kids get eaten, codependent probably, really sweet kids get eaten alive in school. And we go, why are they being so rude to them when they're being so polite? Maybe on some level, and maybe just in some instances, the kid who's being a bit gruff or maybe outright rude is saying, you're being needy right now and it's gross. I don't want anything to do with you. And it's like, actually, your neediness is trying to bully me and I won't let it happen. So it's like stepping in, hey, you, fuck you. It's like, oh, that's really rude. Or stepping in and going, hey, are you okay? Hi, it's nice to meet you. Hello, like, can we be friends? Same thing. Interesting. Brutal to hold it like that. But kids are brutal, right? Because there's these layers of preconception and courtesy and pretense don't exist just yet, or they exist in much smaller degrees than a fully formed 22-year-old social machine. Yeah. Yeah, and then I think
they're all just trying to fit in, and be part of the tribe. And sometimes that means, getting laughs by any means possible. Sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's all there too. But it's like, okay, well, that would indicate that how do we conform and how do we be socialized versus how do we be ourselves? And that's the balancing act. How do I exist in this cohort of human beings with longevity? Because I need people, we're mammals, versus how do I be myself? So like this balance of authenticity and conformity and all this sort of stuff. And it's brutal, but it's necessary probably. I was always wary of like homeschool, and I don't have any real experience to measure it. I've heard some wonderful things said about it, and I don't know many kids who are homeschooled that are now adults to relate to and compare and all of that. But it does make sense.
Like school, would be a mixed bag,
Right. But I don't have there's things that school gives my kids I can't give them. Yeah. I can't give them childlike play to the degree that they need it. If I listen to the Abraham stuff more than anything else this stage of my life, and it is so repetitive. Yeah. This is the nature of it.
There's only so many
repetition
topics.
Is fine. It has to be. I sat there and listened to my old guru just talk about the same shit for forever. He would literally tell stories of his enlightenment in India over and over and over and over. And it was, you'd garner. I watched a Buddhist guy walk in after a 20-year practice and listen to a thing and go, I've never heard it reverse engineered like that. It was essentially saying, rather than holding space for the dissolving of thought, it's like following the thread of the thought and see what it's got to reveal you, like flipping the sort of primary principle of, I don't know, like monastic meditation, reversing it. Wonderful. I love the notion that all things are up for grabs, that anything can be dismantled. So when we hear, like, read that Nisargadatta book over my shoulder here, and it feels very guru principle to read it, which reminds me of those things, and I still find that intoxicating. Is it an echo of an old time for me, or I don't know, but it's to me, they're not the teacher is above all, but there's lots of stuff in Hinduism but the real teacher is the one inside of you.
Yeah.
It's this Atman principle.
It's always about, well, for me, it's always been about what resonates inside of you, what sticks. Like I don't read. I have at times, but I've had friends more say, "Oh, I'm reading this book, and it's taking me so long. I feel like I read a page and I have to put it down and I have to process." And I don't read it. I don't read spiritual books like that. I read spiritual books and just whatever sticks, because that's what I'm ready for. I have had moments of like exalted craziness of understanding deep concepts, being in tears and feeling that energy move through me, and then the next day going, I can't remember what that was all about.
It changed for me two things: what I think enlightenment might be, and its value in our life. So it became something like, let's look to, does vibration expand? All the time, oscillates in fact. Does it, what I often think about is like, it moves like in a sine wave, like a sine waveform kind of thing, up, down, crest, trough. But what spiritual growth tends to do is to take that horizontal planing sine wave and tilt it on whatever degree. And so the sine wave's still going up and down, but overall it's actually moving up. The downs get higher and the highs get higher. And that's the nature of spiritual growth, but there's no ceiling. I suppose enlightenment seemed to suggest that there was a ceiling. But to me, it goes on for forever. And you hear concepts, I heard a teacher say like, oh, there's guys more enlightened than me. It's like, yeah, right. So there's a spectrum of enlightenment there too. Yeah. And there's all sorts of institutional phenomena. There's awards you can win for lifetime achievement awards in that space. And
for enlightenment?
For teaching.
Right.
Yeah. For
that concept.
sannyasins sort of thing.
That concept seems so strange to me. Oh, that guy's more enlightened, way more enlightened than me.
Yeah, and yet,
it seems more.
And yet, you know, we've talked about this a bunch, but this has got gravel in it. But you know, because we talk about it all the time, that there's density and there's expansion. There's people. Forget the practices. The practices are irrelevant. What style of meditation do you do? Oh, that's only half effective, isn't it? It's like, this is insane. And then like sitting in a meditation hall and going, I'm probably top 10% meditators in here, based on what criteria, bro? What are we talking about? What sort of stats you putting up? You know, it's irrelevant. Yet, when you go to somebody who's done a lot of work on themselves with an emotional crisis and they welcome you in, like, I am so excited, like not something they read out of a book. They're not practicing a method. They're like, I can feel incredible compassion. For the wobble in you right now, and incredible excitement for where you're going. And they probably don't say the second bit because it's not time yet. But that's a capacity to hold, and holding space has become part of the pop psychology vernacular. But it's a very real thing as we relate, go to all the trouble to individuate into different beings. And so what people can hold has a lot to do with what's being held inside of them.
Yeah.
And so something like, if hierarchy's too fierce, then we might go, who's safe and who's not? Can you think safety? Certainly not. It has to be felt. These are yin qualities, I think, and they're really beautiful to cultivate inside ourselves. Yeah. And then practicing vulnerability, sharing, that's the really scary one. Letting someone see you destroyed.
Yeah.
Is something else altogether.
And all the muck.
In my relationship, we like to think it's a conscious relationship. I feel pressure to say yes to my partner to maintain harmony, but I feel exhausted and resentful sometimes. What advice would you have for me?
Well, we've all been there. It's probably the first thing I would say. Like, I think many people have been there. There's this concept that I had a realization of, but then have come to understand that it's a phenomenon in and of itself, that if you focus on the relationship over, and it kind of pertains to arguments, if you focus on the relationship rather than yourself in times of conflict, then there's a beautiful part of you that's trying to care for the other part of the relationship, with being the other person. And as long as they're doing the same thing, then you're doing what's in the best interest of the relationship. I think the key thing in what you're asking is that you're exhausted. And so there's something non-resonant in that experience. And the exhaustion is that it's not authentic, funnily enough. And I think that if you're always the one capitulating and you're always the one doing all of the meeting in the middle, then of course that's going to be exhausting. And that would indicate to me that the other person isn't cognizant of caring for you inside the relationship, and you're actually the one doing all of the caring for the other person and your relationship. My advice would be to make sure that you are nourishing yourself first, because you can't. I mean, you can overflow a half full cup, but it is exhausting and will be a finite experience. But if you're filling your cup first, and then that overflows into the relationship, then that's going to be far less exhaustive than this finite half filling of the cup, because you're overcompensating. And I think, the truth be told, if you really care about this person and this relationship, then you need to open the dialogue about all of that. You need to talk about how exhausted you feel, how you feel that they don't meet you in the middle very often, how you're the one that you feel, like this is just the nuts and bolts of true relatability and true meeting of somebody. And so I think it's complicated, but it's also incredibly simple, strangely enough. Take care of yourself first. Be brave, be honest and open. Because you can't sustain, if you're exhausted, you can't sustain whatever you're doing. And I would invite you to not blame yourself for becoming exhausted, and don't blame yourself for the way that you've decided to interact in this relationship, because, if that, it intrinsically feels like a really beautiful place, like you're trying to make things work, you're trying. And so I think be kind to yourself, be honest and open, and start filling your cup. And sometimes that might look like getting space from your relationship and from your partner. And if they can come to the party, then, hey, you're in an amazing place. But if they can't come to the party, then there's some real soul searching to be done. And I think you always have to put yourself first, because who else is going to? How about you? What do you think, man?
I think lots of things come up, like if you weren't in a relationship, you'd probably be a lot safer. But you are, because you chose to be, because you're ready for it. The fact that you can detect you're exhausted is indicative that you're ready to examine yourself in a deeper way. A lot of people are cruising through with sort of low-grade levels of fatigue and drag in their relationships, but it's not gotten loud enough to really take action. The muse isn't kind of like forthright enough, isn't loud enough, isn't bright enough, isn't inspired enough. And you're circling the point where it is. So then the question becomes, okay, there was an inference that this is a deliberately conscious relationship. So then the question can become like, we're stepping into this for the growth work. This woman is a divine, this man that you sit opposite is a divine portal for you to access deeper parts of yourself. So what's so scary about being yourself? What makes it preferential to be agreeable as opposed to being yourself? What's so scary that's behind that door? Undertones of like psychology in that, I suppose, like facing the demons or the patterning from your youth or something like that. But your willingness, your bravery to love somebody has brought this to the fray. Their bravery to love you has brought this up. You wanted a conscious relationship, meeting this stuff is what it looks like. In sincere relationship, she, he, your partner is waiting for you to be yourself even more. Give them that sacredness. Give them that opportunity by daring to be yourself. It's like, babe, you're very passionate about this. As it turns out, that's revealed to me that I think something different. Man, if you step towards somebody you love and go, you're amazing at this, 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 and this, and they go, that's wonderful. And then you say, also this, and this, and this, and this. If all they're getting is positive feedback from you, how the fuck are they going to trust anything you say? One, it'll lose its potency. Two, it's so wonderfully anchored. A person authenticates their compliments by being honest about something critical. You look wonderful in that dress. I'm not crazy about the buckles on those shoes. We're all floating around in the complexity of our own hearts and minds swimming together and interweaving, and we think we can trust things, but then we work out we get hurt, and it's inevitable and all of that. So nobody is guaranteeing absolute trust and safety. So reassurance is required. You know when it's really required is when you're hurtling through space and time much, much quicker through the acceleration of divine relationship. You move quicker, so it needs a little more steadying. That's where the love bit comes up. That's where like the neurological stabilizing of really healthy love making comes into it. I mean, it's wonderful for many reasons, but maybe none more than that. The safety you find in each other's arms and how that stabilizes life, but also the hurtling down the black run of the work you're doing together. So reassuring to look somebody deep in the eyes. And so there's an opportunity here, and give her the grace and the credit to be able to withstand your disagreeability. And you will empower your agreeability. The resonance that you feel in all the other areas will be authenticated and amplified and empowered. And how wonderful. So like Paulie was saying, like this isn't one of those opportunities to tear yourself to shreds. The invitation is no, not at all. To look at this, look at what's being revealed. The curtains have been pulled back. I have an opportunity to step towards myself through stepping towards her. Now, that's the optimistic lens. If you're, let's say you step towards it in as beautiful a way as you can conjure, and you offer something contrary, you're willing to disagree, and it's met with a blow up or unsafety or whatever, then things complexify from there, and you can offer some holding, or you can see what feels aligned. And of course, if unsafety is the norm and is here to stay, then you look at the new reality that's been revealed of the relationship. We have to be able to honor both sides. In order for the relationship to be authentic, there has to be the possibility of it being inauthentic. But either way, what a wonderful precipice for you to be able to sit upon and go, wow, this is a bit scary, but I'm ready to ask the question of myself, and in this case, us. It's exciting. Flipping it back to the more positive with the trust and the safety that you can build with another human being through going, hey, I'm safe enough to be contrarian to your ideas, and you're safe enough to receive that, and you can trust what I say. The irony is by opposing your spouse's view, you can represent so much safety to them when they're able to receive and digest and integrate that. It's amazing just to feel like I can open up my authentic heart to this person because they can stand up for themselves and they can take it and they can be with it. And oh man, in some ways it doesn't get much better than that. To be safe enough, to be met, to find something safe enough to unfold yourself into. It's amazing.
This question's for you, Luke. They ask, my partner and I are trying to manifest a big goal, but our methods clash. I, the woman, want to feel and visualize the outcome spontaneously, but he insists on rigid structure and tracking. How do we align our energies for co-creation without one person suppressing the other's natural process?
Wow, it's eloquent, huh? I wonder about the sort of partner that this person's called in to straight away. So there's a woman who, is lit up by creative flow and expansive quality and unlimitedness, let's say. And then there's her spouse, a fella who is driven by structure and consistency, steadiness. And I would hazard the guess that there are many moments in which that energy brought from him to her is beautiful for her, that she loves. Like this is got a tantric edge to it now, where She loves being in a fluid state, and she's attracted somebody who has a steadiness and a rigidity that accommodates some fluidity, and they polarize each other in that way. So that is a tantric lens to look through. But whether somebody's been consciously tantric or not is not interesting to me. It's just whether if you've got one being who's lit up by the offering from another being, and how beautiful. So gratitude for him in all these other ways, and then noticing, why am I grateful on these fronts and not others? If we're really unlimited beings, and for me, reading between the lines, she's posturing that that's her belief, which is beautiful. No notes on that. But if we really are unlimited and have the capacity to create any circumstance in our life moving forward, then nobody around us has the ability to dampen that, to thwart that, to derail that. It doesn't belong to them. The flipping of it is the idea that we're both really conscious, and so we have to do this together. And it simply does not work that way. The primary relationship is between you and you. And the manifestational invitation is that that's between the human aspect of you and the universe. And no one can really get in the way of that. If you're deeply passionate about whatever it is, they won't need to come. You won't need them to come along for the ride with you. This is the level of freedom that can bring online. You can create whatever you want, and nobody's obstinance or lack thereof can really influence that. Now, you might decide halfway along the process that you don't want that thing anymore, and that there's a compromise in the middle that actually feels deeply inspired, not because you need to hedge your bets or halve your inspiration and creativity to form a mid-path with this person, but because you would really, really feel passion and adoration and joy through the interweaving of a shared project. It's a simple tenet that we fall for this delusion that our partner or someone close to us, like you and me doing the pod or whatever, that if they don't do it in this creative, ethereal manifestation a way, then it won't happen. And it doesn't work like that. She's talking about how to create more succinctly. And it's like you actually don't really create together. You create independently, and sometimes those things interweave. Yeah. And how wonderful. But really, the primary intimacy is between you and the universe, between you and you here. And just noting what you're really inspired about. And I'm not advocating for walking out of a marriage the second it goes bad. That's not what this is at all. But like you were saying in the previous question, understanding that you want to bring authenticity to this plate. That includes creativity too. This is my relationship with me and my goals. Now, often what gets in the way is we have to do it this way or we can't get it. It's like the universe doesn't care. It will find any way to make this happen. There can be quite constraining ideas that it has to happen in a certain way. Don't worry about the how at all. The what and the why is enough, and it'll keep you intoxicated. If you're really inspired about this thing, it'll keep you intoxicated and it'll float in. How wonderful. And truly your partner can't, if it can happen any way, then your partner couldn't stand in the way of it if they tried.
I think for me, it has similar leanings to the previous question. My angle would just be a little more practical. If you can, get really clear on what the true desire is with your husband or partner. Just get really clear on what your desire is for how this is going to play out, this adventure together. Because I think when couples do hard things together, it can either be really, really positive in bringing them together or can actually blow things apart. It's kind of the measure of a couple, I think. So you'll get really clear really quickly on whether you should be doing this with this person, anyway. But I think if you can develop a language, develop a dialogue around how to creatively interact together, and if you can do that with as much honesty and as much kind of courage as possible, and then have them do the same to the best of their ability, sort of leaning into what you said, I guess the other question is, why do you want to do it with this person? Do you have to do it with this person if they're your partner? Is it a project that needs to be done? There is a truism of, you shouldn't work with friends. You should, friends and business don't mix.
Animals and children.
Yeah. I've experienced both of those things. And if it doesn't essentially have to be done with this person and it's proving too hard, then you find somebody else to do it with. But otherwise, yeah, like be brave, be open, be honest. If your partnership with this person is worth investing in, and I don't even know if they have kids or not, then you should be able to have these deep, open, vulnerable, courageous conversations. And that will just deepen your relationship. Because he might turn around and say, I actually don't want to do this project anyway. I don't even know why you wrote me into it. You know, it's hard to know what the other side is actually. But if you have the courage to kind of open that dialogue and bring it to the fore, then you're at least endeavoring to start the adventure, best laid plans kind of thing.